This event came about because, I was getting a lot of questions about a lot of new laws and things like that that were impacting a lot of what we do at the branch level, at the affiliate level, and consistently answering, questions. And it was actually Jan Van Gass who suggested, you should do a webinar. And so that's why we decided to do this, because there have been a lot of changes lately that whether or not you are a finance officer in your branch, or even, another title, another leader on the board, even a branch member, this also affects you. So that's why I wanted to make sure that everybody was invited to this meeting, because it really impacts many of us. So I'm going to go through a lot of this information. Feel free. What I would really like you to do is to any questions that you might have about something, if you could put that in the chat box, put your question in the chat box. And then when I'm done doing the presentation, I will, make sure that all of those questions are answered. There may be questions that you put in the chat box that I answer later on. I'll just check with you to make sure that you understand that. So let's get started. So this is called It's in the Numbers. It's all about the financial and fundraising impact of, or the things that impact our financials and fundraising at the affiliate level. There's a couple things that are critical and urgent right now. I don't know if anyone is aware, but there's this, it's called a beneficial ownership information report, that the deadline to file this was in December, and then there was an extension, which was extended until January 13th. There's been another extension because there's a lot of lawsuits going on about this. So this comes from a new government department. It's within the Department of the U.S. Treasury. It's called FinCEN, which stands for Financial Crimes Enforcement Network. And this new law, which is being fought in litigation right now, requires that any business that has an EIN number, this is a number that comes from the federal government that recognizes you as a business. If you have an EIN number, you have to fill out this report. It's not a lengthy report. It's very simple, but it's painstaking. The good news is that 501c3s and 501c4s are exempt from having to complete this form. So if you're hearing about it, you don't have to worry about it at the branch level or at the state level, the affiliate level. It is not something that we have to do. So I wanted to make that very clear, because there's a lot of confusion about this report. I own a small business, so I have to do the report for that purpose, but I don't have to do it for anything associated with AAUW. The other thing that I want to talk about is the banking changes. I've spoken about this before, but I want to make sure that everybody knows. If you're planning on changing the bank that you're currently with, your branch bank, there's new requirements to open up an account. They require you to have an EIN with the federal government. They require you to be registered in the state of Michigan as a business. And they want you to bring those, documents to the bank. Some banks are more strict about this than others. So just be aware. If you're thinking about changing banks for your branch, just be aware that there may be more requirements now than when you opened your previous bank account. And so you may have to do some extra steps in order to have the right paperwork to be able to do that. So just as long as you're aware of that, and it may require you to, again, register as a business. If you do register as a business with the state of Michigan, it's a $50 fee for the initial registration, and then it's an annual fee of $20 to $25 every year to continue that business registration. And on this slide, Lastly, and again, I thank Jan for this information, but you are probably aware that the Shape the Future code changes every year, and this is the code for 2025. This is the current code. So as you're registering people, new people for your branch, and you want to take advantage of the Shape the Future discount, this is the code that you use when you're checking out, and you put it in the promo code box. So definitely write that down. It's something you probably use throughout the entire year. It's S, if you can't say it, it's S is in Sam, T is in Tom, F is in Frank, F is in Frank, Y is in yellow, 25. Give people a chance to write that down. Next, I'd love to talk to you about the codicils that AAUW of Michigan developed in the last year. What is a codicil? It is a addendum, if you will, to your will. Um, why is this important? Well, AAUW did the work and worked with an attorney to develop these codicils, which would make it, much easier for branches to seek, um, let's say, a gift from their members at the end of life, similar to National's Legacy Circle, if you're familiar with that. So the codicil is very simple. They're which I'll talk about in a second, but gifts as a whole, um, at death, or you can call them legacy. It can work for people with an existing will or people that have no will. There's another way to do it. People that want to leave a gift can leave a percentage of their estate, or they can leave a flat amount. And you can also leave a gift in the name of someone else who has passed, if you'd like you to. There is, the codicil again is very simple. Here's an example of what the codicil language is. And I have used the Ann Arbor branch for this one, but it says codicil to the last will of the name of the person. I, the name of the person of whatever county, made my last will on whatever date that was that you did your original will. I now make the following codicil, so I now make the following addendum or change to my will. I add the following charitable gift to my will. I give, bequeath, and devise to the American Association of University Women, Ann Arbor. EIN number is important to be there. The sum of blank dollars. So you'd write it out numerically, and then you'd write it out, um, in words. You can also change this to say um, the sum of, a percentage of the value of my estate. So you could do that as well. This gift is unrestricted, and the organization's governing body may use and expend the gift in any manner at their sole discretion. In all other respects, I ratify, republish, and confirm my will. So you're not making any other changes, and it's the will's original date. You sign, and then you have witnesses that sign. So the witness signature, and then you have it notarized. Once that's done, you can add this to your documents where you keep your will, and it will be executed on your behalf um, upon death. Every single branch has a codicil in their name already completed, and I'd love to show you where that's located. So I'm going to share a different screen with you, and this is at the AAUW of Michigan website. Okay. Give me 1 second here. Okay, sorry about that glitch. Let me share with you the AAUW website. I just want to check. Can you all see this website? Okay, just want to make sure. Um, so the AAUW codicil information, how to give to AAUW of Michigan and branches. These are directions. These are instructions about you know, the different things that you can do. So if you leave the bequest in your trust or will, here's an example. You can also leave it through a beneficiary, adding AAW, a branch or an affiliate as a beneficiary to your life insurance policy. And then, of course, there are the pre-filled codicils, which I'm going to show you now. So those are kind of the instructions. If I go back a page and I go to branch information, legacy giving to your branch, every single, gosh, even Irish Hill, Adrian Irish Hill's brand new branch, every single branch has their own page. So I will just grab Escanaba area, for example. And here is the document that your members would need to be able to do this. Okay, so it reads exactly how I read it just a second ago, where this is you completing all of this information on this first page. Second page are the witnesses, two witnesses, and then at the bottom is the notary public. All of your branch information is already completed in here. Let me see if I can zoom in. So as you can see, we've got the Escanaba area with their EIN number. So you don't have to go hunting for that. It's already here. So if you wanted to host something that wherein your branch members are notified about this as a way to, leave a legacy with your branch, um, maybe have these printed out. You can offer it to them to do that um, if they would like. And of course, we also have one for the state of Michigan. Somebody asked if this would be recorded and shared out at a later time. Yes, it will. Thank you for that question. The reason that you can't unmute yourselves is because I really want everybody to ask their questions in the chat box because this is being recorded and I want to make sure that there's a certain flow to it. Okay, so going back to the slideshow here. We can talk a little bit about leaving a legacy through uh, beneficiary. So anytime that you have a life insurance policy, even your bank account, um, you have the ability to add a beneficiary to that, which means, hey, if something happens to me, who gets the money in my bank account? If something happens to me, who gets my life insurance policy? And typically there's more than one um, place there to add a beneficiary. So what you can typically do is something like this. So beneficiary number one could be AAUW Ann Arbor. Make sure that you have the EIN number in the sum of, again, you can use a percentage versus a, flat rate. You can say in the sum of 10% of the value of this account. Beneficiary two would get the remainder. And typically you need social security number for an individual person. So definitely an option for you, again, to educate your members that, they can leave a gift, whether it's through a codicil or through leaving your branch as their beneficiary, at least in part. The question is in the chat, how do you propose we recommend this to our members? Because this is very sensitive issue, right? And a very involved topic. You're absolutely right. Um, it's not easy to say, hey, you've got about 30 years left. What could you do for us, right? Um, it is difficult, and a lot of people don't want to talk about it. The only thing that I can say is, make it about education. You can possibly have somebody come in and talk about, do you have everything, settled? An organization that would be, willing to work with your members and slide in the fact that, hey, did you know that we have this available? I think most people, most of our members are donors anyway. Um, and, whether they donate their money or their time, I think that they would be open to hearing some of these things. So, good question. So, let's move to taxes. We had this question come from one of our branches recently about whether or not they should be collecting sales tax when they hold their book sales. Really, really great question. So the truth is, only if you sell more than $10,000. And they said, oh, yeah, we do sell more than $10,000, which floored me. I was like, what? Are you kidding? That's a great fundraiser. I didn't know that those were um, that had that much value. So here's what it means. If regardless of whether you're a 501c4, 501c3, you must collect sales tax on sales over $10,000. That means if you have a fundraiser and you're selling items, so keep that in mind, you have to be selling the items and you're putting the prices on them. Let's say that you sell $15,000 worth. You have to pay the state of Michigan 6% of $5,000. So it's got to be above and beyond the 10,000, and it's 6% of whatever that above and beyond amount is. You would be responsible for completing the paperwork for the state of Michigan and sending them a check for the sales tax. However, something that I would recommend so that you don't have to do that, there's a little bit of, wiggle room, some ways around that. Instead of putting prices on your books, you could put, suggested donation, which means it's a donation and not a sale. So therefore it wouldn't count towards the $10,000. Um, if you're doing other fundraising types of things like a silent auction or, maybe you're doing a raffle, um, it doesn't count towards the $10,000. So it's only things that you're selling and you have a price associated with it greater than 10,000 that you would have to be paying sales tax. Now this is year long. So maybe in January you sell something for 5,000. Maybe in June you sell something for 4,000. Maybe in September you sell something for um, another 4,000. You're paying sales tax on 3,000. So it does accumulate over the year. So just so you're aware. Yes, in 1 year. Some ideas in the chat box. Um, so somebody said, if you collect taxes, you do have to send it in? Absolutely. So don't collect taxes unless you know that you're going to go over the 10,000. Okay. And again, you only have to pay 6% of the amount over 10,000. So even if you did collect tax throughout, yeah, I mean, if you're already collecting it, you do have to send it in regardless if you hit your 10,000 or not. So, um, yes, and it's not just 10,000 per event, it's actually 10,000, um, for the whole year. So once you hit your 10,000, I would switch gears and not do a sale after that because you're paying taxes on everything that you're doing. I would switch it to some other type of fundraiser at that point. This is based on taxes, so it is a per calendar year item, not a per fiscal year. Government cares about your calendar year. All right, so annual taxes. So not your sales taxes, but the taxes that you file at the end of your year. For 501c4s, you may be aware of this, but we always have new people in these roles, so maybe not. AAUW National can file your taxes if you request that they do so, which you can do through the community hub. There's also a requirement as a 501c4 that you are bringing in, revenue or donations less than 50,000 per year. So as long as your donations are less than 50,000 per year and you are a 501c4, if you go to the community hub, you can click the button to have National file your taxes for you through an N990 form. If you bring in more than 50,000 per year as a 501c4, you have to hire a firm to file your taxes, or you can rely on the expertise within your, branch, because maybe you have some accounting people in your branch that know what they're doing. For a 501c3, National does not file your taxes. So all taxes must be filed by the branch, whether that's internally, by the people in the branch themselves, if they know what they're doing, or you can hire a firm to file those for you. In addition to some of the changes that I mentioned earlier, there's some changes in scholarships and how we work with colleges and universities. In recent years, there's been an outcry of, a push for DEI, a push for equality. And even though we're all behind that, it's actually impacting how we do our scholarships. If you do work for or work with a local college university, they can no longer, well, I shouldn't say all of them, but most of them will no longer guarantee that your scholarship goes to a female. Many times, and I know that, in many of the branches, because we're using, this language that we've been using for years, the language for the criteria says a female student who blah, 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 here's the criteria. They can no longer honor that it's going to be given to a female student. So just so you're aware, if you're doing the scholarships where you give money to the college selects the student to receive the scholarship, they can't guarantee it's going to be going to a female because they can't discriminate as to who gets the scholarship. If you're doing fundraisers about for the scholarships and the money is going towards those scholarships, make sure that you're being honest with them. In other words, tell them, hey, we do these scholarships. No, it doesn't necessarily go to a female, but here is the criteria. And the alternate thing that you can do, instead of, working within the college and university where you're giving them your money and you're saying, here, you go and pick out the student, you can always distribute your scholarship at the branch level. And you can take in the, applications for the scholarship, and you can filter through all that. You can assess all that if you want to, and you can determine where that, who that money would go to, who that scholarship would go to. That is one way that you can gain a little bit more control over the scholarship, but we cannot require the university or college we can't force them to give it to a female. So I wanted to make sure that you were aware of that. Somebody asked the question about National has filed our taxes for us in the past. Is this a change? Trying to see if that's a 501c3. Oh, it's a 501c3. Yeah, um, I'm not aware that they can do a 501c3, but Sally is saying yes, that they can do a 501c3. Sally, would you like to speak, Sally? Because I can unmute you. Apparently, no. Um, does the gender restriction apply to local high schools? Probably. Um, I haven't gotten that feedback, but chances are yes that they can't do that. So I apologize about the 501c3 comment. I was not aware that National files 501c3, but apparently they do because Sally is shaking her head. Yes, they do. Okay. I apologize for that misinformation. Um, Next, just some fundraising guidelines. Some of this you may have heard in the past. However,
Sheila, I
again,
think you have us all muted, except maybe
I
for
do.
me.
Yes, I do for sure.
So Sally couldn't speak, is what I'm saying.
Oh, I know. I asked her if she wanted to speak, but I didn't
Oh,
decide.
she doesn't want to. Oh, geez,
Yeah.
that's unusual. No, I'm only kidding, Sally.
Um, so some of this you may have maybe a repeat, some of it could be new. Again, we always have new people in these roles, so we want to make sure that we're, putting this information out there to the new people as well. Um, so let's talk about raffles, like ticket raffles, where you put a ticket in a bag for something that you like. Um, these are, very easy. A lot of people like to do them. I enjoy them myself, but guess what? Anytime you're doing a bag raffle like that, ticket raffle, even a 50-50, you have to get a raffle license. Um, a small raffle license, which is anything under than $500, is $15 from the state of Michigan. You file the paperwork. So not only do you have to apply for it and pay the money, but then you have to fill out a form after the event is over and send it back into the state. So there's a little bit of work to be done about that. Any large raffle that is over $500 is costs you $50. One of the things that AAUW of Michigan did, we did a bag raffle at the convention um, last year, and we raised quite a bit of money with that raffle. And again, it costs us $50. So it's worth it if you know you're gonna, make that money. But just keep that in mind that you do have to have that. Someone just put a link in the chat box if you'd like to look at it on why we can't demand that, females get the scholarship. Does the raffle requirement apply if there's no exchange of funds? Oh, so it's free, like nobody's paying, nobody's purchasing tickets. That is correct. As long as there's no exchange of funds, nobody is paying for a ticket. Okay, next, just a reminder that AAUW, whether you're a branch or a foundation, um, cannot raise funds or give the existing funds to an outside entity. Um, let's say that you have a guest speaker coming to one of your branch meetings, and the guest speaker is from the Humane Society. As animal lovers, everybody in your, branch says, hey, can't we give them, a check from the branch for $200? I would support that. Let's vote for that. The branch cannot write that check. However, the people at the meeting could write their personal checks right then and there and hand those over to the guest speaker as they walk out the door. The money can't come from the branch. It can come from you personally to that charity. But the branch nor the foundation can give money to any other charity. Okay. This is an internal rule, AAUW, part of the AAUW bylaws. It's not like a federal law or anything like that. The other thing about, when we're trying to get people to donate to our organizations, we have to make sure that we're, being honest about that. We cannot lure people's donations by saying that they're tax deductible. If you are a 501c4, you cannot say that your donation is tax deductible. It only works with a 501c3. And there's also foundations. Some branches have foundations that are 501c3s. And so they can also raise funds and make it tax deductible. Here's a little backwards thinking on this though. If I have a foundation that's a 501c3, I'm tempted to raise all my money under the 501c3 because it allows people to donate and deduct the tax. However, 501c4s can donate money to 501c3s, but 501c3s cannot donate money to 501c4s to put money back into the branch. Okay. So while you may be tempted to do all your fundraising under a 501c3, let's say you have a foundation, and then you're going to shift that money over to the branch because the branch needs help. Can't do that. So that is, against the rules. But you could say to yourself, and this only qualifies for those foundations, you could say that the foundation doesn't exist without the branch members, and therefore the foundation should share in the branch expenses and make some of those expenses part of the foundation budget. So you could do something like that, which is legal and makes sense, but you cannot give money from a 501c3 to a 501c4 branch. Yes, you may give a speaker an honorarium, and they can use that for however they would like. Usually those honorariums are, $50 to $200. So the question is, we would like to confirm our understanding about donations to other charities. Does this mean the branch cannot make a donation in the name of the branch to a local civic organization like Meals on Wheels? Accurate. Yes, you cannot. You cannot. Your branch members can pool their money and make individual contributions, or pool it and make one big contribution, but it can't be in the name of the branch. Again, book sales. I know that a lot of people use book sales as maybe their primary fundraiser. Just remember the rules about how much money you can make before you start paying sales tax. So keep that in mind. Some other fundraising ideas. There's fundraisers that you can sell a number, a 3-digit number. You maybe there's actually, 1,000 3-digit numbers, and you can sell those for $20 a piece. These are just some different ideas. Sell those numbers for $20 a piece, keep track of who has what number, draw those, a 3-digit number on a daily basis, and then, you award the money. This is a potential fundraiser, can make you in a year's time almost $13,000. So, and you can adjust that. You can say, hey, we don't want to just do $20. We want to do, $25, $30 awards, or, whatever, but it's a potential fundraiser. This is silent auction is not something that you need a permit for. However, the people can receive a tax deduction through their donation. So for example, there's 2 ways that we can do tax deduction. The donor of the item will receive a tax deduction for the donation of the item. Again, this is for 501c3s. Basically, just give them a receipt that they've donated this item. Let the donor determine the value of their item. They can make that deduction on their taxes. You should not be policing what how they value their item. You shouldn't have to be researching on eBay, what is the cost of this item? And so that you can give them, just say, you've made this donation on this date. Thank you very much, with your, tax ID number and your tax deductible information on that receipt, hand it over to them. They can determine the value of their item and give it to their accountant to do their taxes. The purchaser of the silent auction item is also eligible for a tax deduction if the winning bid exceeds the market value of the item they're bidding on. And then they can take a deduction for the difference. Again, this is for 501c3s. I'm just reading the chat box. Okay. There's other ideas too, like playing a progressive card raffle. You might have heard things like the Jack of Spades raffle. In fact, I'm gonna put a link in the chat that talks about the steps that you can take to do the Jack of Spades if you're not familiar with it. It makes a lot of money. However, it also costs a lot of money in raffles, because if you don't do it all in one night, it costs you $50 every single time you pull a number. So it definitely is something that you want to consider before you do it. I'm trying to get the link in there, but it's not being cooperative. Okay, I will definitely get it by the end. Sorry about that. Other things that you can do: yard sales. People, donate items to the yard sale. Your branch members donate items to the yard sale. You have one big yard sale, and you make money on it. I would stay away from trying to give people receipts for donations, because typically the market value of the items and the purchase price are too low to even worry about it. So the rule about not giving to from a 501c3 to a 501c4 is in the national bylaws. No, Jan says no.
I was trying to write it in the chat, but I'm not very good at it. It's really a national policy.
Okay, thank you.
And it is on our website. It's attached to AAUW of Michigan policies at the very end. Sheila, if you wanted to show them where it is so they could look it up.
Sure, I can. Jan, you might have to guide me.
I will gladly do that. Since I consult it daily,
Okay. Can you see that, Jan? Am I showing the site?
Yeah, but it's just showing the codicil. Okay, so I think I'm like need my glasses or something, but it's probably how I have my screen. Let me.
You said policies, right?
Yeah.
This is it right here?
So it's under branch information.
Oh, okay.
Or no, AAUW of MI governance.
Okay, got
And then
it.
do you see policies right there?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And
So
then right. And then it's at the very, very end. So you can scroll. Unless you want to, you guys could read all of these. They're interesting.
No, thank you.
Okay. And what policy are we on?
This is, I see a lot of 501c3 threes and fours here, but this is
Right, right.
election.
That's
Info.
candidates. It might be before that or after that. I'm not exactly. I could probably do my hard copy because I can't see what you're
IRS
showing.
guidelines.
Pardon?
IRS guidelines.
Possibly, yes. Sally's shaking her head, yes.
Okay. So this is letter D here is kind of what I was talking about. If you've got a foundation that's a 501c3 and your branch is a 501c4, but the foundation and the branch share expenses such as a guest speaker or things like that, it's better for them to share the budget items as well, so that instead of transferring funds to the branch to cover those funds or cover those expenses, you're simply absorbing them into the foundation instead. So that allows you to do it without actually transferring money. So
So I
um,
guess just you might consult the end of our policies.
yes,
Have,
thank you.
yeah, the AAUW policies that seem to apply to the state and branch level.
Thank you so much, Jan.
You're welcome.
Other types of events, um, like a comedy night, card parties, a dinner cruise, any event that you can basically sell tickets to make a profit. The tickets themselves are not tax deductible. Um, just so you're aware, but it's just a way for usually the venue will cut you a deal on the ticket price so that you make a percentage of the ticket price. So this is something that you can do without the need to um, obtain a license or something from the state of Michigan. I would love to hear, I've been answering them as we go, but I would love to hear from any of you, and I can unmute you as well. But do you have any questions? Let me go about the task of unmuting you really quickly before we get into that. So I'd love to hear questions. I also want to thank you for participating. Um, and give me 1 second while I attempt to unmute you. If you would like to be unmuted, please raise your hand. Sally, I see.
Sheila, I just wonder, Sally had put, and it was way back, and
Uh-huh.
this was my understanding too, but you're more current. I thought that if you didn't sell tickets outside the venue and you didn't have over a certain amount, like I thought it was I don't know, 150 or I don't know. It wasn't too large of an amount. You didn't need to have a license. So we do 50-50 raffles. We used to, but we never had a raffle license, but we never made more than about, you know, $25 or $50.
Okay.
So Sally wants to be unmuted, I think.
Okay.
Yes, she is.
Okay.
We can hear you.
Okay. I did. They changed the rules on this back and forth to where first you did have to get a license, even if it was a small thing and you were not selling it. Now, the understanding I have now is that if it's not going to be over $100, the price, and you don't sell tickets outside, like you're just selling them at lunch, you don't need a license. But if you sell it before you come to the lunch and have them bring them, then you need a license. Okay. And the other thing I wanted to say was that the 501c3 and 501c4, that is not AAUW's rules. These are the IRS rules. And so, for instance, in our foundation, we raise money to pay for the scholarships that are given by our branch. but we pay for them, that we are there to pay for that. We don't pay for their luncheons. We have our own, you know, thing. So it's not that complicated. And Sheila, you've done a great job here tonight.
Thank you, Sally. I appreciate that. I did just put a link in the chat box for the policies that Jan mentioned. Sharon, I'm going to unmute you. I see that you're asking for.
I have a question.
Yes, please.
You mentioned something about $200 per speaker, that we're not to go above $200 per speaker. Is that correct, or did not hear you correctly?
I mentioned that people usually keep their speaker fees to, you know, $50 to $100. I don't know, and maybe Jan can help me. I don't know that there's a rule about what that amount is. Jan says no. So you get to decide as a branch what your budget will allow.
Okay, thank you.
If the branch budget as approved by the membership includes funds for another 501c3, is it okay for the branch to donate? No. As Sally mentioned, this is a IRS. Well, no, I'm sorry. That's not true. And you guys can tell me, Sally, Jan, tell me if I'm right. The rule about AAUW branches donating money to another charity is not an IRS thing. It is an AAUW policy issue. Okay, so they're saying not in the name of AAUW can you donate money to an outside organization.
Correct.
And as branches, we have to follow the policies of both AAUW branches have to follow the policies of AAUW Michigan and AAUW.
Right.
So that's not a law, but it is something that we have to abide by as part of the AAUW organization. What other questions might you have? And I'm happy to unmute anybody if you just let me know that you would like to speak. Yes, okay, Laverne, hang on one second. There you go.
Okay, this thing about other 501(c)(3)s, it has me very confused because the universities are 501(c)(3)s. So how can we give money to universities for scholarships if we can't give money to another 501(c)(3)?
Good question. We can do it because part of our mission is scholarship, and we're doing it under the mission of our branch. I'll give you an example. The mission of AAUW, in fact, there's 3 pillars. One of them is education. It's not, providing food for the homeless. It's not.
Okay, so as long as it's mission related, because that's why I was confused, because it made it sound like if
it really applies only to this situation. Scholarships.
Only scholarships, not other educational programs.
Correct.
But
Well,
then you can't
an educational program.
Oh, okay, because I'm saying something like Neck Whistle.
Neck Whistle,
Yes.
Yeah, that's an educational program, but it's not a scholarship.
Well, you give the scholarship to the girl that's going.
Well, when you pay the expenses, you send the check to register them. That's sending it to another 501(c)(3). That's what why I was.
You all know
confused.
there is no Nick Whistle anymore.
Yeah, there is, but it's not under AAUW anymore, but the program itself still exists.
It's
Yes.
not called Nickwood.
I know it's called something else now.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would take a step further, Laverne, and say that let's say you were aware of a non-traditional student who, at 35, she's changing careers, she wants to do something with her life, and she wants to go to a tech training. She wants to become a welder, and it's not going through a traditional university or college. She's
Go
going
to
to
it.
a trade school.
Yeah. Yeah.
That also applies. So if you think about what it means, what scholarship means, free
Okay.
entry into an educational opportunity.
Okay.
If
I
you-
just wanted to make sure, as long as it was mission driven, it was
Yes.
okay, because the way it sounded,
Scholarships.
yeah. Well,
Period.
scholarship educational programs.
Mhm.
An educational program, or
Yes.
advancement of women, as long as we're consistent with the mission. Okay.
I'm still worried, Laverne, that you think it's more than scholarships.
No.
No, I'm not talking about, well, you can, I'm sorry, scholarship to me doesn't necessarily mean you write a check to a university and the university does an application review process. Scholarship is education broadly, supporting education broadly. And that's our mission.
Mhm. Yes. In fact, there's another question that, questions the very definition of scholarship. So what is the definition of scholarship? What if we give money to an after-school program as a scholarship because middle schoolers cannot afford it?
Yeah, I would say that's that's mission driven.
I know that the Wyandotte Downriver branch does a conference every year for middle schoolers, a STEM savvy conference,
Yeah.
and they pay all the expenses and basically bring these students in under a scholarship to attend that.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, that's all I wanted clarification on.
I have another question.
Yes, ma'am.
We deal with Oakland University, and I'm wondering, they have a certain fee that they are supposed to put in, and we put in so much. What if they choose not to do that? Are we then responsible for the full amount?
So you're going in jointly with them on a scholarship, or?
No, we just meet with other people at the university. And I understood that their half was to be like, I don't know, 150 or 250 or something like that. If they choose not to do that, do we cover that?
That's a good question. I guess I don't know the exact circumstance. Is it for a scholarship?
No, I think the 250 is the membership fee to be a college university partner.
Oh, okay.
Right, exactly.
In which case, only the university joins. You know what I mean? It's a yearly thing. They're sent the invoice. So I would assume, in what you're talking about, maybe you guys send the university X amount of dollars. But no, you could not join, nor would you be held responsible.
So they really don't pay that, or they pay that and we don't?
Right.
Well,
They're the
so-
member, not you guys.
Right.
So I guess what if the branch wanted to sponsor their membership,
You could do that.
the college university? Yes,
Yeah,
you
you
can
would
do that.
send the
do
money
that.
to the, yeah.
Right. Somebody wrote in the chat that the Grosse Pointe branch gives money to a STEM and robotics program for middle and high schools to support
Great.
STEM education. Great.
Great.
Yes.
That's great. It's good.
Any other questions? I hope tonight was helpful. I'm also going to include my email address feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. At any time, that's what I'm here for. So I should have introduced myself. I'm the VP of Finance for AAUW of Michigan. And I don't know everything, but I will find out an answer for you with my trusty advisors, like Jan and Sally and those people that I rely on to help me. People that know way more than I do and are much smarter than I am, but I will get you an answer if at all possible. But feel free to reach out. I told you I would have you out of here by 8 o'clock, and I am. So
job.
thank you all for joining me. And this will be recorded. I don't know how it's going to work with this